All right, it's 7 o'clock, and it's time for us to get started. Do what? I don't take any after 7 o'clock, and it's 7 o'clock right now, so. Oh, I have done him before. Hey, it's probably on one of those nights when you weren't here. Hospital, sick in the bed, it don't matter, you weren't here. Well, you probably were. Did you go home and fish last night? All right, did you catch anything? All right. All right, so let's get started with this service tonight. Try to anyway, yeah. A few announcements just to bring to your attention. Let's see, I'm trying to say. Tomorrow from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, our senior saints will be having a potluck and Christmas cards. They'll be putting some goodie bags and some Christmas cards together for some of our shut-ins tomorrow. So if you'd like to come and be a part of that tomorrow, you are invited to come from 12 to 2, potluck and Christmas cards and goodie bags that they'll be putting together tomorrow. Also, let me see here, Friday night, there is a teen and young adult activity, both of them. So if you have anybody in those age categories, make sure they're reminded of that, and they'll be there for that. This Sunday night is our cake and pie auction, and so our WAC ladies put this together every year, and they bring in a bunch of goodies, a bunch of stuff, and we bid on them, and then the money that they raise for this goes to help the projects that they have with the WAC. Usually it's all missions related, and so those things will be this auction will be Sunday night after the service over in the Family Life Center. We always have a good time with that, so come over there and be a part of that as well. And then next Tuesday night is our Thanksgiving chili cook-off, and we'll have a service as well with that. We will be having trophies for this. Again, I only got one more Sunday to announce it, and then you won't hear it from me anymore. But we have 3 trophies. One is we have 5 judges that are being selected that will vote. They'll have their own thing. They'll vote for this stuff, and they'll receive a trophy from the judges that judge for those things. And then there will be, everyone else will be able to vote on 2 positions. It's a People's Choice Award trophy that will be given from everybody that's voting. And then also the spiciest or the hottest chili will be awarded as well. Some people don't like hot, some people do, and it just, whichever one is hot. There are some rules to that. Yes, it needs to be edible because if we're, and there are some specific rules about, does it have a good aftertaste? Is it got a good consistency? Is it good this? Is it good this? So there's some different rules. They're all out there on the table in the Welcome Center, so you can look at these things, and we will have all this stuff available for you next Tuesday night. Plus, I keep talking about the chili stuff, but we will also have a little devotion time as well Tuesday night, and a couple songs that we'll be doing together. So be here next Tuesday night. Look forward to having that. To me, it's kind of the start of the holiday season as we get into Thanksgiving and then Christmas and all these things that are coming up. So we have that. Yes, sir. No, everything will be in the Family Life Center. Tuesday night, everything will be in the Family Life Center. We'll have tables set up, and when we have our service time and all that stuff, it will be in the Family Life Center. So it starts at 6. We'll eat, and then we'll have our contest stuff going on, and then around 7-ish, a little after 7, we'll have a devotion time. We'll announce the winners, and we'll go home. So that's kind of the plan for next Tuesday night. Also, Ms. Tracy brought up to me, and we mentioned it Sunday, that she is doing poinsettias. If you would like to purchase poinsettia in honor or Christmas poinsettia in honor or in memory of someone, they're $12. You can see Ms. Tracy or Alexis Cerny and give them the money, give them the paper. Make sure that it's, we're doing it in honor and memory of, so we want to make sure everything's good on those things. Make sure you spell it correctly on the paper that you give us so that it's spelled correctly on the paper that we put out. We've had in past, I didn't spell this right. We spelled it the way that you gave it to us. So make sure that you spell it right, and then we'll make sure that we try to spell it right. If it's my fault, then it's my fault. But if it's your fault, then hey, that's what we'll do. But if you'd like to do that, $12, see Ms. Tracer or Alexis for that. Also, Adriana, we mentioned the last couple Wednesday nights, Adriana is raising money for her mission trip. I just found out you guys have given about $1,200 so far to her account. She needs $3,200, well, $3,200 or $3,500, something like that. I think 32 is the mission trip, plus she has to get a plane ticket to Nashville, and then it starts from there and goes. So 3,500 is what her goal is, and so she's already raised close to half of that. So we're pretty excited about that. I think she's got some other money that's coming from some other places, and so she's about at that halfway point. So if you'd like to continue doing that, that would be awesome. Just continue giving for her, and just pray for her. If you can't give, that's fine. Just pray for her, and she's excited. She's doing this, going off, and she really doesn't know anybody that she's going to be with. So she's going out on faith, and she's excited about it, though. So we're looking forward to that. Some other prayer requests just to bring up to you tonight is our unspoken request that we mention each week that many of us may have in our hearts. Unsaved family members and loved ones that each of us have. Those who may be sick, that's kind of getting in this season, getting to be a long list of different ones who different illnesses. It could be just a virus that's going around. It could be respiratory infection, which is what I had last week, or just different things that are going around. So just pray for those who may be sick. Also continue to pray for V. Diaz's mother and sister up in Maryland with their health issues. Don Edwards' friends that he has that have different health issues. Continue to pray for some of our older ladies who are just going through a bunch of illnesses. Miss Margie McGowan, she is still battling with this COVID stuff. She's had a little bit of a fever today. And so I think she's supposed to go back to the doctor tomorrow. So just keep Miss Margie in your prayers for that as well. Miss Barbara Stocks, she's got breathing issues that she struggles with all the time. Miss Brenda Edwards and her ALS that she is going through, and just the battles that she is having. Miss Juanita Clark, we mentioned her in a one call just about she has rheumatoid, arthritis that's really bad, and she struggles with that, and she just hurts all over a lot of the time. And so keep Miss Juanita in your prayers. Miss Margie Woolard, her diabetes and different things that she struggles with a lot, just keep her in your prayers. Miss Sandra Buck, she has some different health issues as well. Miss Roberta Hodges, who is Sandra Buck's mother, is still over at Ridgewood in the nursing home. So just keep Miss Roberta in your prayers. Abby Walker, my daughter over in Japan, if you'd keep her in your prayers, we'd appreciate that. She has started another ministry along with the other ministries that she already has. She's coaching basketball for a school there, a junior varsity girls basketball team. She started practices this week, and so she's excited but nervous about that. She's getting to meet new people. That is an opportunity for outreach for her for ministry and church, but also their parents and the different people that she'll be going along with. So keep her in your prayers. She has her first game next Tuesday or Wednesday. She has her first game, and she just started practice Monday. So keep them in your prayers. She's pretty nervous about that. Keep Eddie Moss in your prayers. Like always with him, he has his good days and bad days with his kidneys and some other issues that he has, so keep him in your prayers. Miss Beverly Adams' sister, Pat Meekins, Miss Julie Smith's sister, who's in hospice, Lois Corey's sons, Chris and Hardy Jr., their health issues that they have, and then Hardy Ray Sr. And the health issues that he has as well. Timothy Webster's mother, Billy Campbell's sister, who has Alzheimer's. Did she ever get to a place yet? I know they were talking about that.
Not that I know of yet.
Okay, so she is still at the hospital. They have talked to people, and they thought she has her place. They're just waiting for that to get done. So I'm saying pray for Billy's sister who has Alzheimer's, but pray for Billy as well, because he's going through a lot emotional stuff as well, trying to help take care of her. So please keep him in your prayers. Miss Betty Lou Ingalls and just different health issues that she goes through all the time. Eric Pushman, a friend of mine in Tennessee who has leukemia. I just talked to him the other day. He'd been in the hospital for 5 weeks, and he just got out, and he's still struggling with things up and down. So please keep him in your prayers. Raymond Jackson had his surgery today. As far as I know, everything has gone well. When they got in there, it was a little more complicated than what they thought it would be. They thought when remember when he gave us that big detailed thing about the robot going in there and doing its stuff? Well, the robot they weren't able to use the robot for the surgery. They had to actually put him under the knife. And so when he woke up, Christine told him that they had done it because they didn't know they couldn't do this until he was already knocked out and gone and doing these things. And so when he woke up, she told him that, and he said, I could tell because it hurts a little worse than I thought it was going to, and then what they said. So they're going to try to get him up and moving tomorrow, so keep him in your prayers. He's going to have to stay there for 3 days instead of just an overnight thing, so keep him and Christine in your prayers. Also, pray for our Awana class, and our teen class, and our young adult class that are happening around the facilities here. We have a lot of good workers that work with these kids and the teenagers and the young adults. They're all doing a wonderful job. Our young adult ministry, they're having anywhere from upper teens even into the 20s back in their group on Wednesday nights. And so that's just a good thing to have with our young adult group. So we're excited about that. Our teen class upstairs, Brother Daniel, is doing an excellent job with them. Our Awana is doing well. Our Awana never has, just between us, our Awana never has picked up exactly to where it was before COVID. When COVID happened, people quit coming for a while, and then it just hasn't picked up completely. We still have many that come. We have some parents that will bring their kids, drop them off, and then they leave, and then they come back and pick them up. They don't stay for anything. So pray for the kids, pray for the parents, and pray that God will bless our Awana ministry as we continue that as well. Also, the wars that are going on in our world, Israel and Ukraine, and just the different things that are happening, just pray that God will have his way there. Miss Lula Stout, she is home. Pray for her and her health as she is recovering from her surgery. And that, last I heard, she was still waiting for some results. I don't know if she got them that I know of, but just keep Miss Lula in your prayers. Raymond Jackson's niece that he mentioned, his niece's aunt that lives in Georgia who has cancer. He mentioned her a few weeks ago. Miss Myra Woolard is back at home now. I talked to her. So she's doing well. She just can't get around too well, but she is, she's always in good spirits, and she always gives me some candy corn, so that's good. But we have a good time, so just pray for Miss Myra. Miss Marie Cox, this is Hardy Ray Corey's sister. She's over in rehab in Ridgewood. Keep her in your prayers. Miss Marie, her family was some of the original people when this church began. She was younger, but her parents were part of the thing. Her husband, who has passed away several years ago, he was a treasurer for the church at one time. She was a secretary. They both taught in Sunday school. And so they've been around and know our church pretty well for years and years. But she's 91. She's not doing the greatest, but keep her in your prayers as well. Also, Mr. Bobby Hodges, a lot of you know him from Paul's Funeral Home. Went by and saw him. He's in the hospital here in Washington. We mentioned pancreatic cancer. He told me today he has some problems with his pancreas. They've done some tests, and they don't know exactly for sure that that's what it is yet. He's afraid that's kind of the direction it's headed, but it's not a for sure thing yet. So keep him in your prayers. But he's in the hospital not for this. He's in the hospital because he has pneumonia in one of his lungs, and he was anemic. And today when I was there, he was on his third thing of blood. So he's struggling with that right now. You could tell that he was just very out of breath just talking to me. So just keep Mr. Bobby in your prayers. He's a good guy. I've worked with him for years over at the funeral home, and he's a really good guy. So keep him in your prayers. I told him that our church was praying for him. He wanted me to thank you for that as well. Pray for Miss Retta Doggett's family. Her sister passed away this past Sunday, so keep their family in your prayers. They're not for sure when the funeral is going to be. She told me the other day something like it may be after Thanksgiving before they do this, but that is the thing. Yes. Okay, so is this This Saturday in Ahoskie. They told me after Thanksgiving, so that next Saturday would be, well, thanks a lot, man. You really, all right, so you're going to call me fake news up here in a minute. Right, right. Well, if you find that out, let me know. Holler at me. 25th, so that would be next Saturday. So a week from this Saturday. So that's when they'll be having it's a memorial service. She was cremated, and so they'll be doing that memorial service then. So that's why they're able to wait longer than normal. Jay Hardison mentioned that his mom, Geraldine Dixon, is having a heart cath done tomorrow, so keep her in your prayers as well. What did I say wrong? Dixon. Jay, I don't know why I said that. It didn't make any sense to me when I wrote it down, but okay. Jay Dixon, this is Jay Dixon over here, you guys that may not know Jay. Jay told me this before, so he didn't have to bring any attention to himself. So now, Jay, it's all yours now, buddy. So his mother is having a heart cath done tomorrow. So keep Jay, this is Jay right here. Keep her in your prayers. Thomas was telling me earlier, Thomas Carowin up here, he was telling me his son, T.C. Carowin, who was saved a few weeks ago here at church, he has gone off. He is at this truck driving school place. And so he is taking tests and different things with that. He did take a test today and was the highest one in his group. And so it's kind of a pre-test to get ready for the real thing. And so I keep him in your prayers that he'll stick with this and things will go well and that he'll be able to get this license, be able to do this. So keep TC in your prayers. Any other requests that I may have mentioned or any fake news that I have said that needs to be corrected? Yes.
He stopped by one day. I didn't really know who it was till after he left. I had stuck my lawnmower in the ditch there up to the axle. He stopped and jumped out to help me get it out. And I said, appreciate it, brother. He drove off, and I said, I know that man. Oh, that's the dead man.
I told him I didn't like seeing him because when I see him, usually it's not under good circumstances. So, but yeah, Mr. Bobby's a good guy. Anything else? All right, let's pray and we'll get started here. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you so much for all that you do for us. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for the sunshine that was out today, Lord, and we thank you just for the blessings that you give us. And God, we lift up to you these requests that have been mentioned tonight, Lord. There's several of them that we've brought up. And so, God, I just want to just bring up just a few of them to you tonight, Lord. Just Raymond Jackson, as he's in the hospital, Lord, I pray that you will be with him as he recovers from this surgery, Lord. Even though it was a little more complicated than they figured, Lord, you still blessed and they were able to do what they needed to do. So, God, we just pray for a quick recovery for him. God, for Miss Margie McGowan, who is still battling with this COVID and the fever that she has, Lord, I pray that you will give her some relief from that, Lord. God, for Mr. Bobby Hodges, who is just going through a lot of different health issues, different things in different places. And so, God, I just pray that you will be with him, bless his wife as he is away from her, and just protect her while he's in the hospital. God, for TC that we mentioned here with his truck driving school, Lord, we pray that things will go well with him, that he'll be able to go through this with flying colors and be able to start his career and job here very soon. God, for Jay's mother that's having this heart surgery, Lord, or heart cath done, we pray that this will go well and that they'll be able to tell what they need to do from here. And so we pray for some good results from that. Lord, there's several others that we've mentioned that have been sick or that are sick and just doing different things. Lord, we just pray that you'll be with our church family during this holiday season as we go through different health times and sicknesses that may be wandering around, Lord. We pray that you'll protect our people, protect those that are maybe more susceptible to sicknesses, and Lord, just protect them and help for us to be concerned of our brother and sister, and help for us to pray for them, Lord, and also just to check on them as well. God, I thank you for the blessings that you've done for us. God, I want to also pray for those that the holiday season for some is very joyful time, but for others it's not as joyful. And so, God, I pray that you'll be with them during this time. They may be missing someone or different things that have happened to them. And so, God, I just pray that you will bless them and God, help for them not to necessarily focus on the negative things that have happened during this time or the ones that they may miss, Lord. But, God, I pray that they will be able to focus on you and how you came and have blessed us, and that one day, we'll be in heaven together with those that have gone before us. And so, God, we just lift them up to you. And so, God, we thank you for just all that you do for us. Be with us tonight as we look into your word. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, bad joke of the day. This will probably be the last one that has a Thanksgiving theme with it, since next week we'll do Tuesday night. I don't know if I'll have one or not, but we'll see what happens. But what do you get when you cross a turkey with a centipede? You get drumsticks for everyone. Think about that for a minute and ask somebody next to you to explain it to you. All right? Also, this one, I don't know if this one is as good as that one, but how does a turkey travel? No, he takes the gravy train. All right. That was a good one, too. Bunch of moans and groans on that one. All right, we're looking at the church in Babylon. We're continuing this look into this book and the study that we've been doing. We are moving into chapter 2. We're still in chapter 2 and part 3, and there may be a part 4 and 5 as we go along. I'm not in any hurry. I just want to go through this book as we go along, and I've just enjoyed the things that we look at. Tonight we're going to just look at some different things that leading up to next week's study that we get into. And so as we look at these things, when you think about America, and you think about, this is Thanksgiving, the Pilgrims came over, and all these things that happened that founded America. We think that it was, we look at it as generally being founded by Europeans who, for the most part, identified as Christians. When the Pilgrims came over, they were coming because they were looking for religious freedom, to be able to serve God the way they wanted to without being persecuted. And so the Pilgrims came to America, and they pretty much identified as Christians that were here. So that leads us into this book, not this book that we're studying, but there's a book called The End of White Christian America by Robert Jones. And in that book, he explains that our forefathers wrote our laws, they built our political structures, and they established the core values that helped shape our nation. When you think about those things, and you think about the Constitution, you think about the Bill of Rights, you think about the Declaration of Independence, and how these guys came in here and they set these things up for us to follow and go by. We still go by our Constitution. We still go by these things. And so these forefathers of our country, they came in and they set these things up. Francis Schaeffer spoke of this as what he called it as the Judeo-Christian consensus. And so that's what he would call it when he was talking about this. But Jones, Robert Jones, the writer of the End of White Christian America, he explains that although this, and this is what his words are, he says, although this prominent cultural force in American history originally provided a shared aesthetic, a historical framework, and a moral vocabulary, it gave us these things, it gave us the things that we shared there. The WCS, or the White Christian America, he said, has died. It's no longer there, and that's what he is talking about in this book. Today, for many Christians, the country looks different than it did just a few generations ago. Some of you can remember when you were kids, and that would be a different generation, and how things have changed through the years. You hear your parents talking of things when they were younger, and then when you were younger, and now you have kids that are younger, and how these things have changed through that. So I want to ask you the question, how how has our country, how does it look differently than it used to in the past few generations? How's it looking differently? Mom stayed home, Dad went to work. Most people went to church, now they don't go to church. Did you say spanking? Okay, well, I just want to make sure that's what I heard there. People will get spankings more. Corporal punishment like that was more relevant than it is now. Say that, what? Blue laws, yeah, blue laws. They still have that in Greenwood area? All right, well, never mind. I don't want to be putting out false news again. But I do know that when I used to go visit Dad in Arkansas, that on Sundays they had, in gas stations, they had the liquor coolers chained off where you couldn't buy liquor on Sunday. That's blue laws. And so that's what they had. You didn't have multimedia. You didn't have all the social media. You didn't have computers. You didn't have a lot of these. If there were computers, you didn't have them. It was other, businesses and corporations and stuff that may have had some of the beginning ones. But yeah, we didn't have all that stuff. Children went outside and played. The problem today is a lot of kids either are sitting at home on their computers or their phones or on something else, or on the other side of that, a lot of parents are like, no, you ain't going outside, somebody get you. My mom was hoping somebody get me, but nobody wanted me. One time they did get me and they put me back. But, I'm just kidding. But my dad had that too. They don't have, is that, not everywhere though, I don't think. High school, they don't have it. Well, I take that back. They do have some physical education stuff. The time for it is not as long as it used to be, okay. Because I was remembering that I've been over at the high school, and unless something's changed here recently, where they did have PE, because I was glad I was not the PE teacher. Right, it could be an elective, right? Is that right? Right, they don't have, a lot of times the PE classes that I went into, when I went into the schools around here, a lot of kids were sitting on the bleachers doing nothing versus being out there and actually doing physical education. So, yes, that has changed a lot. They have stopped prayer in schools, like morning time. They do have, I don't know if the school around here still do it, they'd have a moment of silence, but they didn't actually pray over the intercom. Okay, so there are some places that are changing. The moment of silence has started back. So there's a lot of changes and things that have happened with that. Anything else? On the field? Okay. Right. So different places will have different things that happen like that. Lois? It's a charter school. Beargrass is a charter school. I don't know if I have an answer. If you're going into charter school stuff, I don't know. Okay, well, that's something that I'm not in education that Tammy can tell you. Hey, don't argue with the lady that works for the public school system in the finance area. The lady that writes the checks should know this. because they're just run completely differently. I mean, you know, if a kid is not doing what they're supposed to, they can just say, go somewhere else. Right. Work ethic around town and different places. It doesn't matter where you go. Hey, you guys talk about this after church. But the work ethic has gone down. It seems like that not as many people want to get paid, they just don't want to work. I see that. Entitlements, okay. All right, we could probably go on this all day, but let's keep going here. When we look at different things, other different things, we can applaud the progress that has been made regarding integration. In our school systems in different places, there's more integration. You don't have the segregation that we used to have, the racial equality that we have more now than we didn't have back 50, 60 years ago. That it's a lot different. But there are other changes that are happening that are troublesome, and you mentioned several of those things. Robert Jones, the guy that wrote this book, The End of White Christian America, he begins his book with an obituary. And this obituary explains the cause of the death for this group. And so what he says is this. He says, it was determined to be a combination of environmental and internal factors, complications stemming from major demographic changes in the country, along with religious disaffiliation of many of its younger members. So the death of white Christian America, he's saying, stems from demographics changing in our country, where people are living, the different races, the different things that are going on in our country, and then also people stepping away from the church, our younger generation who are stepping away from the church. And because of this, he said this is why he says that white Christian America has died. He says the younger members began to doubt WCA, the White Christian America's continued relevance in a shifting, is that right, relevance? Relevance, I knew that was right. Doubt the WCA's continued relevance in a shifting cultural environment. The white Christian America's credibility was also damaged when it became mired in partisan politics in the closing decades of the 20th century. When the politics started getting so partisan and so bickering back and forth with each other as they are now, it is starting to die. He goes on to explain that late in its life, white Christian America also struggled to adequately address issues such as lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender LBGT rights, which were of particular importance to its younger members as well as to younger Americans overall. So the white Christian America was ignoring some of these things that some of these younger people were saying, hey, we don't need to ignore this. This needs to be there. So the death of white America, let me just say this, should not be concerning to us. Because to me, I even struggle a little bit just saying the name of this book because I think that's rough. White Christian America, that sounds very racist. And I didn't like that a whole lot, but what we need to understand is this: the death of white America should not be concerning to us. Our racial diversity should be a strength to the church. We should be different, and it should give us an opportunity in our church to display the diversity that's going to be in heaven. Because let me tell you something, we have in Washington, North Carolina, you have your white churches, you have your mixed churches, you have your black churches, you have your Hispanic churches, you may even have some Asian churches. You have all of these different churches that are around. But let me tell you something, in heaven, when we're all worshiping God, we're all going to be worshiping together. So there's not going to be a segregation in heaven. We're going to be together in heaven. So the death of it should not be concerning to us. It says in Revelation chapter 5, verses 9 and 10, it says, and they sang a new song, saying, worthy are you to take the scroll and open its seals, for you were slain, and by your blood you ransomed people for God. And get this is where I want you to get, from every tribe, every language, and people and nation. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what their color is. It doesn't matter if they're tall or short or fat or thin. It doesn't matter anything about those things. God has died for all of them to be in heaven. Every race. And you have made them a kingdom and priests to our God, and they shall reign on the earth. He said, listen, we should have diversity in our church. Although we still have far to go, churches are increasingly more intentional about multiculturalism, racial reconciliation, and reaching out to refugees among us. Now, as far as I know, Washington, North Carolina, we don't have as many refugees as some other countries may would have, or even some places down, closer to the border that may have different issues and different things. We don't have that influx of that here. But I do think we are trying to be more and more intentional about multiculturalism. It would upset me, listen, I'll just tell you this, it would upset me if you as a church, our church, and me as your pastor, if you told somebody that they could not come because of their color. I would be upset. I have a girl that I coached basketball with. She got online. She may be watching right now, but she got online and watched it. She's living in Virginia now. She just had a baby, and she said, hey, I'm going to be in Washington in December for the holidays. She said, I'd love to come to see you, and she asked me if I would pray over her baby. I told her I would. Just bring the baby over here. I'll pray over it. And she said, I'd even like to come to your church maybe sometime if I can. And I said, you are always welcome at my church. Now, let me tell you something. She is not the same skin color as me. But she is a child of God just like everybody is. And we need to be open to these things. We should not be, oh, well, look, I can't do that. That to me should be something that is dead and gone. So that should be not, it should not take place here. That will light a fire under me more than anything. So don't you start that. You'll get me going. Right. What should concern us about this death of white Christian America is not the death of white America, but it should concern us is the death of Christian America. That's what should concern us. Many of the biblical values upon which America was founded on are no longer being allowed to shape the laws and shape our lives. They're no longer being allowed to do these things. In some lesser ways, Christians can identify with the Jews in Babylon in Jeremiah's day that we've talked about before, how they're going into these places and the things that were happening to them. Our culture is being shaped by religious fragmentation. Now, when I put that out there, I was thinking, I don't know if I know what that means. And if I don't know what that means, there may be a couple that do, but people out here may not know what. If someone comes and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this religious fragmentation, you'd be like, me too. What? All right. So when I looked these things up and I was going through, it's religious fragmentation, which is a division between religions and within a single religion, resulting in intolerance, discrimination, prejudice, conflict, and sometimes even wars. Because religions are battling against each other. We have a war going on in Israel right now. We say the Jewish people versus the Arab people, but it's basically it's Muslim Islam against Christianity or Judaism there. So we have these are, and so people see these things that are happening. We have conflicts within the churches. People get mad and upset. Well, the pastor didn't come see me. He didn't visit me. I was in the hospital, and he didn't come over and see me. He did this, and he did this stuff, and he did these things, and so we have these things and these rumors and this, and not always rumors, but just these negative things are going out, and people are seeing this stuff. So our culture, the people that are not in the church, are seeing the struggles that we have, and they're saying, "Why do I want to be part of that?" But we see this right here. I put this on your paper as well. because I knew you wouldn't be able to read this up here, and I'm going to have to move up here just a little bit. The blue right there, this is share of global population affiliated with major religious groups in 2022 by their religion, okay? And I don't say religion like we're Free Will Baptists and they're Methodists and they're Church of Christ and they're this. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about by their religion, okay? We have Christians at 31.6%. Global population, 31.6%. Right behind Christians are Muslims at 25.8%. Right behind them are the Hindus. Did you know that was the third most religious religion that was followed today is the Hinduism, all right? Then you have unaffiliated, 14.4% unaffiliated. You have Buddhist at 6.6%. You have folk religionalists. I'm not for sure what all that is. But folk religionalists, it may be people that, I don't know, do different things. But you have that. You have other religions that are 0.8%, which is the yellow. And then you have, you have folk religions, which is the yellow. Other religions, 0.8%, which is a little slab of, I think that's purple up there. And then the Jews, 0.2%, which is just a little line, like an ink pen line going right down at the top there. So those are your major religions around the world by their population of how they are. That's where we're talking about how we have been fragmented. We've been split into all these different things. Not only are there Christians, 31.6%, who are fighting each other, but there's Christians going against Muslims who are going against Hindus, who are going against unaffiliated, who are going against Buddhists, who are going against other religions, who are going against Jews, who are going against all these things. And so you have your fragmentation that's going on. So that's what that means when it talks about how we are going through our cultures being shaped by our religious fragmentation that's happening around us. Our culture is also being shaped by widespread disaffection or dissatisfaction with this church. They're not satisfied with what's happening in the church. They don't like what's going on with the churches. And so because they don't like what's going on, they don't like what's happening, it's shaping our culture. People are leaving or they're changing things or they don't like what's going on. Our culture is being shaped by changing sexual attitudes. Well, it's okay if that's what they want to do. It's all right. Hey, I think I want to try something different. I feel like a woman today, and so I'm going to be a woman. I'm going to associate myself as this. And so just the different attitudes that people are going to have about these things is affecting our culture. Moral and spiritual relativism. Relativism, again, people will see that. Some of you guys got that right away. But relativism basically means no absolutes. There's not a right and wrong. It's whatever is right for you. Relative. It's, it may be wrong for me to do this, but it's okay for you. Because truth is relative to who is saying it. And so they change those things. Yes?
Back on your map now, where it says the Muslims, we can assume all of them are sold out Muslims. So the Hindus, and so the others. Back over here with the Christians, that covers a broad stroke of Christians, which have many cult Christian churches in it. So
That is, I think when I was reading this, they tried to separate that cult Christian stuff that you're talking about into that folk religionalist things. So some of that will fall in there, but I'm sure that even in the blue and the 31%, there's going to be some Christians out there that are not as diehard Christians as you're going to have some of the Muslim people that are diehard Muslims, the Hindus that are diehard Hindus. And so they're going to be more diehard than a lot of Christians are because, we can't, here's the funny thing. As a youth pastor, I'm going to step on a toe for a second, all right? As a youth pastor, we would have visitation time. Hey, guys, come over to the church. We're going to go out and we're going to knock on some doors. We're going to leave some flyers for the church. We're going to do some different things and try to advertise Jesus, advertise our church, advertise some different things. I'd have 5 people show up. Hey, guys, we're going to go to King's Dominion next week. 32 people show up. See, there's a difference in there. We're so excited about King's Dominion, but sharing Jesus with others, I'm not too excited about. And see, again, fragmentation of Christianity, all right? Our culture is also being shaped by these things. If you add also to these things political correctness that's out there. You have to be careful what you say. Religion of our political parties is just run amok. I mean, I have to be careful how I say this here. There are two major political parties that shape our country. There are other political parties, but there are two major ones that pretty much shape our country. There's a third one that's right there behind them. But I honestly, I will tell you this in all truthfulness, I've got to a point where I don't fully trust either one of them. And especially when people will say, I'm a Christian. Because we talked about this Sunday night here. If you're going to be a Christian, you're going to do things because you're a Christian. You're not just going to talk about it. You're not just going to hear it. Oh, I'm a Christian, so vote for me. What are you doing for Christianity? How are you helping promote Christianity? Or are you just throwing Christianity so that the Christian conservative people will flock to you and vote for you so that you can get in there? You're still going to do your own thing, but you just want to attract them. And see, it just really is disheartening to me, so I struggle with a lot of the political stuff, and it bothers me. But we see that, and because of the political correctness, the religion of our parties, because of our culture being dissatisfied with the church, the changing sexual attitudes, the moral and spiritual relativism, the religious fragmentation, all of these things, it's no wonder in America, in the eyes of Christians, in the eyes of Christians, that America looks different today than it did a few generations back. All of these things that are happening right now, that's why you've all said, we went through this whole list of, hey, we got to keep moving because it's changed. Our country is changing with these things. Yet we as a church, as Christians, we are called to witness, be the light and the salt within this larger culture that adheres to the values of trash television, with hedonism, which is the pursuit of pleasure. I just want to see all the things that make me good, make me feel good. The ever-expanding homosexual power that's out there, the influence that the homosexual agenda is throwing out there into everything. Religious antagonism, which is people that go out of their way to cause problems. I don't know if you know that, but sometimes in the church, there's people that will go out of their way to cause problems, even within the church. And we struggle with those things. There's racial hatred, even though I said that's not something that we'll have here, but there is racial hatred that is going on in our country. It's not nice. It's not good. It's ugly all over the place. There's the political wrangling that's going on between who's what and who's doing all these things. And then there's the elevating of individual rights. Well, I deserve this, and I deserve this thing. What was that word you used a while ago, Heather? Entitlement. There's this entitlement thing, my individual rights. I'm entitled to these things. You ought to let me do this stuff. I watched a video today where some guy got on a bus, and he just walks on and walks right by the driver, and he sits down and puts his stuff down. The driver goes, "Hey, it's $2.50. I don't have any money." "It's $2.50. I don't have any money. Just take me where I need to go." And the bus driver says, "You're going to make all these other people mad and upset because I'm not going anywhere until you either give me $2.50 or you get off." Now, could the guy have some grace? He could have, but the other guy was, I'm entitled to get on this bus and ride it if I want to. I know that the rule is I need to pay $2.50, but I should be entitled to get on here. And see, those are the things that are going on in our country, but those are the people and those are the culture that you and I as Christians are to be witnessing to and to sharing the light of the world with. There's a t-shirt out there that says this: "Worship me and we'll get along just fine." I found that. I mean, that's not, I made this t-shirt up and put the words on it. I found that you go online and you can type that in there and you'll find you can order these t-shirts. All right, worship me and we'll get along just fine. People that just say, hey, it's all about me. It's all about me and my world. Megan Rapinoe, you've heard of her? She's a soccer girl that she since 2011, she came out to be gay. She's fighting for homosexual rights, for LGBTQ things. She's fighting for equal pay for women. She's soccer players and all these things that she's been going after and doing all these things. Although she's making $21 million, she's still fighting for all this stuff that she's trying to do. But last Saturday, she had her last career soccer game of her life. She's retiring. She's going out of it. And in the first 6 minutes of her final match of her career, she tore her Achilles tendon. So she said this in a post-game interview. She said, "I'm not a religious person or anything, and if there was a God this is proof that there isn't. The fact that I tore my Achilles tendon is the fact that there is no God in my last game."
You see how she was talking? She had no idea of the words she was saying.
Well, she said that because if there is a God, he's going to be nice and loving. He's going to be good to me and do this stuff. And so that's why she's justifying this stuff. But she goes on to say this. Everyone was like, "Who kicked me?" And obviously, no one was even around me. I was just pressing. I was just running. No one around me. And my Achilles just tore. As I'm running, no one else around. See, just think with me. I mean, to me, this is proof that there is God. And then she said this. "Thank God I have a deep well of a sense of humor. It's devastating to go out in a final so early," she added. If there is a God, this is proof that there isn't a God. But thank God that I have a sense of humor. See, she doesn't make sense. And this is what she said in quote that she was throwing out there and putting it just. But she's saying this publicly. The girl soccer player who I didn't write her name down, that was sitting next to her, was just laughing the whole time through it. But there's a lot of girls growing up wanting to be soccer players that look to the U.S. Olympic team as their heroes. And she was one of the leaders of this, who says there is no God. And so this is the culture that we live in. Too often, we as evangelicals find ourselves as a minority. We find ourselves out of step with the cultural currents that have been widely accepted by an ever-changing America. We're just more and more different than everybody else. We're out of step. We just don't mesh with them. I'm not saying that that's bad, because there's a line being drawn here. Separation of the sheep and the goats, the right hand and the left hand, as the Bible has said, and Jesus has talked about this. There's going to be this separation. I think COVID separated a lot of sheep and goats myself.
We know more than the Jews were. They were looking to God to save them. And who are we looking for?
Right. Who are we looking for to save us? But that's where we're at. So let me ask you this. What is the status of the church in America that you look at today? How would you picture the status of the church in America? You say it's weak? A lot of shambles, a lot of different ideas that are going out, falling away. Church was the backbone, and now it's not. Now it's not. Well, people have left. It's like the church in Revelation. That many people have left their first love. They're not following God the way they used to. I mean, you could think about people that you have been in church with in years past that you look at today that are not in church at all. They were in church. They grew up in church. They were a part of church. You guys, we went to Sunday school together. We went to VBS together. We did all of these things together, and they are no closer to church right now than it could be. Oh, yeah. God has put this redemption out there, yes. No, I don't think it is, because here's what, from this study, the future is easy to predict. It goes with what you're saying. Because many of the children raised in evangelical homes and churches are opting for a more inclusive theology along with a more liberal political agenda. So they're leaning more out there. I know of people who are just so inclusive that they've forgotten about God. Come and let's talk about, come just whoever you are, it's okay. We're all gonna be fine. It's like Oprah, there's a car for you and a car for you and a car for you and a car for you. It's just, hey, come on, we're all gonna be just fine. We'll all get there together. We'll all do these things together. And some will disagree, but researcher John Dickerson says this. He says, the church is declining in members, in dollars, and in influence. The church is. That's us. That's us. Now, I like statistics and different things like that. I don't like doing them, but I like reading them. But I looked at this one. Here's one that I put on here. The Great Decline, 60 years of religion in America. So this is 60 years. It starts in 1952 and it goes to 2012. So we don't have the next 10 years on this chart here. But if you look at this, you see where it started in 1952. And then you see where it is in 2012. So it's going down and going down, and it's probably farther down than that. I don't believe that it's moving upwards. We see this right here, among Americans. This was asked, Lifeway Research did this survey. They said, in America, the church is what? 55% said it was declining. 51% said it was stable. 42% said it was dying. 38% said it's thriving. And 36% said it was growing. And 2% said none of these. So declining was the number one thing that people thought of when they thought of church. Church is just going down. We also see this, weekly church attendance from 1993 to 2020. All right, I don't think that one's on your chart neither. I got the next one on your paper. But right here, all U.S. adults, weekly church attendance. Okay, so this is not monthly, weekly, okay? Weekly church attendance. In 1993, 45%. It went down to 37% and made its way back up to 48% in 2009. That was what, 14 years ago? But now it's at 29%. So weekly church attendance has declined. This is before COVID happened. So before COVID, we were on a decrease. Church attendance, people coming on a weekly basis, was going down. But then I thought this was interesting that goes along with this. Weekly church attendance by generation. So the different generations that we have. The blue one at the top is elders. That would be people that were born, I don't know, before the baby boomers. So I don't know what year that was. I didn't write that down. Do I? Yeah, people that were born like a long time ago. You old people, all right? But it shows, that's at the top, and it shows at 51%, and then it went up to 53% in 12, but now it's at 37%. And again, this was before COVID. The older generation has stopped coming in a weekly attendance. It's come down from 51 to 37. The orange line, the second line, is boomers, which I think I'm in the boomers generation, is my generation. It has gone from 45% in 2003 up to 46, barely, but then it's down to 32% in 2020. The light blue color is Generation X, which you have 34%. They went up to 44%, and then they've declined down to 29%. And then you have your millennials. Your millennials are the ones we always talking about. Oh, the millennials, they just do this. The millennials, all right, they started at 32%, and they've dropped down to 25%. So if you look at that, the millennials have gone down 7%, while the older generation has gone down 14%. So there's there's a big drop, not just in younger people, but in older people.
With all due respect, the older people have health issues, they don't drive at night.
They do. And there's a lot of ones that have different health, but this is a weekly thing. This is even talking, I mean, you say they don't drive at night, but this is mostly Sunday morning that they look at. They don't look at the full day. But they don't, because a lot of churches don't even have Sunday night services. So you have those things. So the question before us is this. And this is not something that I necessarily am looking for an answer right now on, but the question before us is this: how do we share our faith in a culture that so despises our values and our Christian commitment? How can we share this? And that's what we're going to be looking at in this book as we continue to go along. How can we share our faith with this culture? This culture, they hate us. How can I share my faith with them? How did the Jews, that's what we're going to be looking at with this, who were at the mercy of the Babylonians, how did they maintain their identity, continue to worship Jehovah? Same type of thing. How did they do it? How can we do it? So we're going to look at those things. The Jews knew that they had little chance of impacting the Babylonian culture, but they feared that there was a much greater chance that the Babylonians would begin to influence them. Think about Christianity today. Are we influencing more people for Christ, or more outside of the church influencing the Christians to walk away? And it seems like more and more often I'm hearing of Christians who are walking away from their faith. And so we see this all the time. The Jews did survive, and so can we. It won't be easy. The risk will be great. Russell Moore said this. He said, our call is to an engaged alienation, a Christianity that perseveres the distinctiveness of our gospel while not retreating from our calling as neighbors and friends and citizens. So we have to not persevere, but preserve the distinctiveness of who we are. We have to maintain who we are, but we also have to engage with our culture. We have to be out there with our neighbors and talk to them, so we have to do that. As far as their captors were concerned, the Babylonians who came in, the Jews were trusting in a weak God, I didn't put "the" on there, in a weak God who proved unable to defend his followers. So the Babylonians were saying, you got this guy that you guys serve, he's so powerful, how did we come and capture you? Is what they were saying. In the minds of the Babylonians, Jehovah God, the Jewish God, had lost to their chief god, who is Marduk. So they had lost to him. How would you feel if your God, I'm not saying is a loser, but was deemed as a loser? How would that make you feel if your God is so great, how come the homosexual agenda is so powerful today versus your Christianity today? Your God is losing. Your God is losing to these things. And so people will come in there and they'll throw these things at us. And just same thing that the Jews were going through. The Babylonians believed that Jehovah's light was actually darkness. And this is the culture that we are in today. They believe that the light that we're trying to put out there for them is actually darkness, and they're in the light already. Hey, look at us. We got everything made. We got it going. Why do we need you? Why do we need your stuff? People who deny that God exists may give several reasons for their unbelief. For example, they may say they reject God. We've talked about this before. They may reject God because they can't understand why he doesn't do something about all the evil that's in the world. We've talked about that specifically before. Or they may say that they're turned off by the hypocrisy of the Christians that they've known. That's another big one. They say that they're Christians, but they do everything that I do. Why do I need to change? Billy Graham says this. He said, but the real reason most deny God's existence can be summarized in one word: pride. They want to run their own lives, and they don't want anyone, especially God, to interfere with the way that they're living. He goes on to say they want to be in control of everything they do, and they know that if they were to believe in God, they'd have to change their lifestyle. I'm more addicted to the things that I'm doing than wanting to serve God. I don't want to give it up. I don't want to quit doing these things for God.
I think one of the big excuses the unsaved world uses is the Christians.
Well, they'll use Christians, yes.
They use us as an excuse for them.
They'll use us as an excuse, but it's still their pride. They're using that because of their pride. And they don't want to serve God. To live without God is to live without hope. Without hope for his presence with us right now. You know, I'm thankful that I went to the hospital this morning to see Raymond, and we were able to stand there in front of all those people, and we prayed and talked to God for just a few minutes. We prayed and talked to God, and we could feel God's presence there with us in the middle of the hospital. That gives us, as Christians, as believers, hope. But we also have a hope for eternity. You know, as bad as it gets, heaven's coming one day. And so we have the hope for eternity. And so to live without God is to live without any kind of hope. Psalm 14, verse 1, it says, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. You and I, we are called to be a light in a very dark world. The world that we live in today, it's not, they don't have the light on. And I'm not talking about in their mind. I'm not talking about on the porch. I'm not talking about at Motel 6. I'm talking about the light of God's love, the light of who God is. They're in darkness today. Next week, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the options that the Jewish people faced in Babylon and how that will correspond with the options that we're going to face today as we're trying to live as Christians, as the church in Babylon. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for this study that we do. We thank you for your word. We thank you for scripture that is there. And God, I pray that as Christians, God, it's a struggle. It's hard. We don't like it. We get upset. We get mad over different things. But God, help for us to be the light that we need to be, to live like you would live, to treat others like you would treat them, to share with others the way that you would want us to. And not to live in our own pride and not want to change and say we can't do this or this is just me. God, that's not always true. That's our pride talking. So God, I pray that you will help for us to be a light in this dark world that needs us so desperately, and not to be afraid to stand for you.